what's your limit? I remember one time, maybe my third year in business, I was in like 5 different programs. And I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I was like, this is too much information. And also, 5 skills to accommodate in 1 year. I know one of your philosophies is like work on 3 skills, but 5 in 5 programs was insane. So yeah, I think the theme is the lack of focus that people have, and also it's a little bit of validation. Like if one coach says something that you don't like, you're going to other places, but that might not talk.
You should see Roma's face if you're not looking at the video.
I talk to people and I'm like, when's the last time you got on a sales call? When's the last time you made a sale? A year ago. What have you been doing for a year? Sorry, I'm getting really passionate about this. Yeah.
No.
I'm like, what is going on? Where's the common sense at?
None. There is none here. So I'm so glad you brought the East Coast. I'm like, oh, you're about to take me down a winding path. No, it clicked when I was in the Uber. I was like, oh yeah, this conversation would have never happened in New York, ever. Like people would have just been embarrassed. Yeah,
it's more grounded and realistic out there.
I love it.
For sure.
I love it. Let's talk about DMs.
Okay, yeah. I love DMs. I can talk about it all day. My philosophy about DMs is, if you were scared about posting, my backstory is I was in a really intense 9 to 5, very conservative in Florida, like very, very conservative. And if your manager found out you had a business, you would lose your job, right? So I was scared to post my face. And also I had some safety concerns on social media. I had people in my personal life that I was running away from, and I didn't want to risk my safety. So I was like, okay, how can I make money not doing content? So that constriction really helped me blossom. I think that's also really important. I think so many people are so open to everything. I had very strong parameters. I was like, I don't want to post content, and I don't want to need to use my face or my body to be on video. So that only left me with one really option: DMs. Email was also an option, but I didn't think of it at the time. And my mentor at the time was like, just DM people. That's the fastest way you can make sales if you are completely against doing content. Like I was like, I don't want coaching on it. I don't want mindset on it. I'm not ready to do that. And DMs is how I get so many sales calls. To this day, I have another sales call named all through the DMs. And this is the evolution. Now, I just talked to you about this in the DMs. How now I'm teaching clients to close like 12K packages in the DMs. But there's just the right way to say things and the right time. It's all about psychology. I think for any of you watching this, please do not go on ChatGPT, because you can ruin so many of your relationships doing that. But DMs was the fastest way for me to build my business. Everyone has a different method, but it really worked out for me.
So many people are afraid of the DMs. They're afraid of the DMs. They're afraid to be salesy in the DMs. And I think it's because we have been on the receiving side of quote-unquote salesy DMs. But I always tell my clients, from one pitch, I paid somebody $30,000 because they pitched me. And so I don't think you're doing it for the masses, but you are doing it for the few that are ready. And it's worth it. It's worth it to do that.
For sure. And I think when you hear me say DMs, I'm not saying go DM all 1 million people on the internet. Go DM the person you met at the conference last week. Go DM the person who just followed you and liked one of your posts, right? People are showing you that they're interested. How obvious do you need them to be that they need help before you reach out?
I like that. And one of the things that you talk about so many times in your trainings is, and I genuinely believe this, and I think people get so in their heads when they have a business where they're just like, I'm bothering people, I'm annoying them, they don't want this, they don't want what I have to offer. People every day are searching for what you have to offer.
Also, let them say no. Why are you saying no for them? I'm like, everyone is a consenting adult. Ideally, if you're focusing on people over the age of 18, why are you making decisions for other adults? Let them say no. It's like telling yourself like, oh, I don't wanna go to that spa or hotel because they won't like me. Let them reject you. What? Like, that doesn't make sense. Or I don't want to apply to a school because they might not like me. Let them reject you. Don't make those decisions for other people.
So good. Let them say no. We're not okay with no. We have such an aversion. This is so good. We'll do anything to avoid a no. What if everybody regulated themselves to receiving
believe that you can just work fast and move aggressively. And I think a lot of women are like, I want to be feminine. Okay, there's a time and a place for that. Do it at brunch, but like business, you need to put your head down and do something about it.
I love Roma, y'all. I love this.
And
I love her.
And what I like about Emma is she's from East London, right? I think that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Like where you grow up, it
Yeah.
really does impact your drive. Not saying that if you're watching this and you're from California, like you don't hustle or anything. I'm sure you have hustled for something. Just tap into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's good. Disclaimer: we like our West
We
Coast
like
people.
West Coast people.
We like West. I have
Yeah.
so many of them.
Yeah.
Thank you for this disclaimer. I always get in trouble. I'll say something and then I'm like, that applies to 20% of your audience. Yell. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I can't. I have to complete my thought there.
Yeah.
So no, I think that's helpful. Yeah. Honestly, I think DMs, like any other sales strategy, requires repetition and it requires a level of desensitizing yourself to the failure of it.
For sure.
Because you can either be quote unquote rejected in the DMs
49